we work with a lot of quite large DSOs. And so one of the big themes that we have is a lot of folks, I think, are really used to only getting certain KPIs in marketing. So they're only used to getting clicks and conversions, which is a phone call or a form fill, or they're only used to getting sold on these kind of quantitative metrics that don't really mean a lot to the bottom line. And so one of my favorite things that we've been able to do is really cut through all the noise. I'm like, look, it's some things are really complicated and involve a lot of API integrations and all kinds of crazy stuff, and some things are just stupid simple. So, some campaigns make money, some campaigns just make a lot of noise, and they ain't making no money. And so we're cutting through that by integrating into the actual patient management system. We can now integrate with Dentrix Ascend, which was a big deal for us, and we're super proud of that. That's a whole new offering that we can bring to the market. A lot of practices are on Dentrix Ascend, and I love cloud-based practice PMS systems in general. But we're able to really showcase the names of the patients that we're bringing, how many dollars those patients are bringing into the practices, and tell them exactly what campaigns they're coming from. And a lot of the CMOs that we work with and leadership teams, executive teams at these DSOs have never seen this data before. So one of the things that we're talking about right now is, just to be honest, I think a recession's coming. I think if it's not a full-blown recession, there's going to be some kind of major movement in the market. I just bought a home down here in Florida. My interest rate is higher than I care to admit, right? And so that's happening right now all across the country. And so what we need to do is be really cognizant of, if you're going to spend money, where are you going to spend it? Marketing is typically, with a DSO, one of the first things to get cut. And the metaphor that I use is, it's like a bomb in Mission Impossible, right? You've got 3 wires, red wire, green wire, blue wire, and in a normal scenario, they're just cutting their whole marketing budget. The problem with that is that you then lose all the patients that were coming in from your marketing. And CMOs understand this. This tends to be kind of a back and forth that happens with CMOs and CEOs and COOs and the other executives at a DSO. And so what we say is, we're like, don't cut everything. Just let us show you what's making money and what's losing money right now, and then you can make really intelligent decisions on what to do. And when I say this, sometimes it's like I have 2 heads, because people don't realize that that's even possible to do right now. So that's probably one of my favorite things and insights that we're able to bring to the market right now. The practices that are kind of holding back and not getting on the Rise platform, there's a couple main reasons for that. One is, they are locked into a contract. So it's a tough situation, because we don't believe in contracts. We have no setup fees. A lot of companies, like, when I was our COO at our DSO in Michigan, they kept trying to get me to switch my VoIP system or do all this other stuff. And it's just too much change management to make it worthwhile. And it's also just really complicated. So we don't believe in that. So we're entertaining the idea of doing contract buyouts in some situations for the first time. But really, I think that once people see what is on the other side and they understand that this is now possible, it's kind of like one of those things where you just can't go back. Once you can understand the names of the new patients that are coming into your practice and understand exactly which marketing channels they all came from, you can't go back to just looking at impressions and clicks, or licking fingers, sticking in wind, and reading the tea leaves and looking at the smoke signals. My client said it best. He's hilarious. He's a gentleman from Alabama. He goes, look, I have really great metrics with everything else in my practice that I need. There's a lot of great tools out there. There's Domo Analytics, there's Jarvis Analytics, there's Dental Intelligence or Dental Intel. And these suites of tools are great at showing you everything that happens basically to a patient when they come into the practice. The problem is, what happens to the patients? Like, how do we show the patient journey before they've come into the practice? There's no proper set of analytics tools that showcases that, and that's exactly what Rise DDS does. We built Rise really out of frustration. It's kind of a funny story. So I was our COO at a DSO in Michigan. And to be honest with you, I just got really, really pissed off at my marketing vendors. That was the initial impetus to create Rise. We didn't create it because we wanted to. We created it because we felt like we had to. I'm spending all this money, right? A lot of people spend a ton of money on marketing. And if you look at, the ratios of what you should be spending, whether it's, 3% of production or 5% of production, whatever you decide on, it's a lot of money. And on top of that, like a lot of my clients and like a lot of dentists, I'm not a dentist myself, I'm an operator, but I'm really freaking cheap. I'm really frugal. So I'm not gonna spend money unless I really, really know that I have to spend it. And that just really bothered me because no one could show me where my marketing dollars were going. And marketing is such a gray, sort of sketchy, unregulated industry. And I just felt like there was no leader in this space that was kind of holding the torch, guiding the way of like, these are the metrics that don't matter. First of all, just calling out all the crap that's done right now. There's so much sketchy stuff that's done right now. We can get into that, but anybody that owns a practice and has had it for more than 5 years and has worked with a marketing vendor understands what I'm talking about. And it's not that they're bad people or any of, it's just like, it's like they don't understand what success means. Their definition of success as a marketing company is very different than the definition of success as me or another owner operator of a practice. So they'll come to you and they'll say, hey, Mr. Dennis, Mrs. Dennis, we brought you, 10 billion impressions this month and 2,000 clicks and all these conversions. And you're sitting there looking at your schedule and you're like, you got me maybe a bunch of Medicaid calls, but what about the quality new patients that I'm looking for? So, and at the same time, everybody wants to, the KPIs should not be some sort of fancy Silicon Valley data analyst term. A KPI should just be like the name of the patient. How much did they spend? I'm a huge fan of measuring patient happiness with things like Net Promoter Score or other metrics. I do really believe in that. But as an operator, as a former COO, this might sound crass, but I tell people, I'm like, look, a lot of the way that I measure patient quality is just, to be blunt, how much they've spent at my practice. Like, are they spending money? Because if they are, I think we're doing a good job, providing them with the treatment that they need. Nobody's selling treatment that patients don't need. Certainly not in my practices, at least, okay? So that's not the problem. So if you take that off the table, if they're spending money, we did a good job. If they're not, let's look into that. In the marketing world, one analogy that I really do love with marketing is the concept of the marketing funnel. So you've got the marketing funnel, you have impressions, how many people saw your ad, you have clicks, how many people clicked on those ads, you have conversions, which is the number of phone calls plus form fills that a patient submitted if they called into the office or if they submitted a form fill, for example, on your website, and then it goes completely dark. You have no idea what happened to them after that point. And so those are called conversions. Another term for conversion is unqualified lead. Marketing companies don't call it an unqualified lead because that kind of gives the whole show away. It's an unqualified lead. So what happens is when a doctor or a practice owner goes and complains to their marketing company and says, hey, I need more new patients. I need more quality patients in my office. Not Medicaid calls, not leads that don't go anywhere, not form fills that my front desk has to then, go pay attention to and follow up on, right? There's speed to lead and, front desk teams are typically just not really equipped to do that. You have to have a dedicated, we provide that as a dedicated service, a full-time dedicated person that just emails, texts them immediately within 2 minutes and is able to kind of articulate the value of why they should come into the practice, and then they schedule them in. I'm a huge believer in that. It depends on the price, but if you can do that relatively cheaply, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't use, we call them VRs or virtual assistants, to be able to schedule stuff for you. So, but yeah, going back to kind of the KPIs that matter are the name of the patient, did they actually show up for their appointment, and there's a lot of qualifiers in showing up in and of itself. Like if they showed up for the appointment, they would have to have been qualified to show up for the appointment. So they have to be a quality patient. Usually what happens is, and this happened to me, I would basically complain to my marketing company like, hey, where's my patients, right? Like, I need more new patients. I'm paying you $4,000 a month, whatever it is. Where are they? I don't want to see conversions. I don't want to see impressions. Like, where's the actual patients? And in their mind, just because the way that they're trained, it's not necessarily their fault, but they immediately translate that to, oh, they need more conversions. So what do? You increase the radius that we're targeting from like 10 miles to 20 miles. Well, that makes no sense because then they're going to be driving by all these other practices before they come to you. If you're what I call a destination practice, you can get away with that, more of a specialist. But it's a really impractical way to spend money. A good example, I was just talking to a doctor this morning about this, is the types of keywords that marketing companies are targeting. There's a lot of doctors out there that want a lot of implant patients, which is completely understandable. The problem is that they go to their marketing company and they say, hey, I want more implant cases. And then the marketing company just goes in. Google Ads is a bidding system. A lot of other marketing channels rely on bidding systems. The problem is, if you're just bidding on all these, I call them blue chip keywords, then you're just driving the price up like with everybody else. Google Ads and online marketing in general, all marketing really, I compare it to Lucky Charms. That's my metaphor. So you've got the cereal and you've got the marshmallows. Everybody wants the marshmallows, nobody wants to eat the cereal. So to convert that metaphor to dentistry, everybody wants high ticket cases, all on fours, implants. But the cheapest way to get those cases is to spend very little money on general dentistry. Emergency is huge. Not just emergency, but high ticket emergency or high household income. If you're targeting high household income patients with emergency cases, then a lot of them will end up converting to implants, because it's only when they get a tooth extracted do they then realize, oh, I need an implant. And the difference is, if we go out and we get 5 emergency cases, I've probably only spent $400, maybe $100 to $400. If you go out and get 5 implant cases, you probably spent $5,000. That's the difference. You can literally get more implant cases by targeting more colloquial, everyday terms than you can in many instances in many markets by bidding on these blue chip terms that everybody else is also bidding on.